Pleiadian Mission, A Time of Awareness by Randolph Winters. Part 9. The planets form. At this point in the development of our universe, trillions of years have gone by already. The new creation has reasoned and figured out every step of the way with the help of the energy from the original cosmic creation consciousness, also called the Absolutum. The accumulated wisdom of all that the new creation has learned is embedded within it, for it has learned it all from actual experience. Since our new creation is within the original creation and is connected to it, it has a reference source by which it can learn and try out new ideas. It is no accident that the new cosmic creation consciousness is evolving the way it is, because it must follow the pattern created by the original cosmic creation consciousness, the Absolutum. Because of this, all universes, all creations, are created the same way and must evolve through the same steps of experience, but each universe will have innumerable differences. The original cosmic creation consciousness, the Absolutum, contains a blueprint or guide of how to do this, and the new creation takes the blueprint and uses it to create its own physical, material universe. Through the process of thinking and reasoning, energy is created, and when the process of thinking and reasoning is correct according to the original cosmic creation consciousness blueprint, then that wisdom is added to the accumulated wisdom in the new creational universe. This spiritual growth is what evolution is. As the new creation evolves, so does the original creation. So all universes contribute to the growth and evolution of the original cosmic creation consciousness, the Absolutum. As fluffy matter evolves into gas and spirit becomes more intelligent through experiences, the galaxies then form. Their movement, rotation, and pulsation are controlled by the pulses of time, which Crispy calls pulse waves. Trillions of years elapse during this process as the material universe is forming. Then come the cluster of gases that create the suns and stars, and eventually the planets form around the stars, signaling that the newly created universe now understands how to create the mineral kingdom. All along, the spiritual energy of the new creation is learning and growing through the experiences. Once planets are formed, reasoning and thinking continues until the food kingdom comes into existence. Throughout the process, the new cosmic creation consciousness universe is following the blueprint of the original cosmic creation consciousness universe, the Absolutum, and using thinking and reasoning to understand the results of its experiences. The development of flora and fauna is just one more step in creating a more complex and highly developed universe. As the food kingdom is developed, the way is cleared for the creation of animals to eat the food. Fauna, the animal kingdom, is responsible for the evolution of the coarse matter of our bodies. Once the animal kingdom has evolved the coarse body material to a level of evolution that is high enough, it is possible for the spirits of human life to then be materialized. Humanity then begins the material life cycle on those appropriate planets and evolves the new cosmic creation consciousness universe to perfection eventually through the spiritual energies created by each soul's growth. Life develops in many different forms depending on the planet and the solar system it is in and the available nutrients and minerals. If a world has the necessary elements of water, correct amino acids, correct radiation from the sun, correct atmosphere, and spiritual evolution, then life forms of various sizes and shapes will naturally develop. They must. Everywhere possible, life develops. The human form is the highest form and is found in all parts of all universes where the conditions are correct. The human form also represents a higher level of spiritual development by the new cosmic creation consciousness universe, for it obviously takes more understanding and knowledge to create a human body than it does to create a gas or a mineral or water or plants. We are seeing the slow evolution of the new cosmic creation consciousness universe through the learning experience. The human life form is capable of providing the new creation with the highest order of learning experience and thinking that will be added to the new universe's evolution. The human form represents the first time the new creation universe has been able to create a life form capable of rational thought and reasoning. Each level of development, starting with fluffy matter, then gas, then minerals, then flora, then fauna, has taken a more complex level of understanding and consciousness to create. The human form represents the highest level of understanding and consciousness. Humans can think and experience on their own and provide energy to the new cosmic creation consciousness universe, which in turn provides those experiences and energetic contributions to the original cosmic creation consciousness, the absolutum. There is a chain of wisdom from the lowest levels to the highest, which all contributes to the evolution of all life forms throughout all universes. Crispy chiming in here. It's a bit like one universe is one cell in the brain of cosmic creation consciousness, the absolutum. Each universe has its messages that it sends and receives to all other universes that are capable or near enough or connected in some way. Not every thought goes to every brain cell, of course, axons and dendrites, firing and sending and receiving. But everything that is happening within the one giant brain that is the absolutum. Now back to Randy. As the universe continues to grow, there is a point where the experiences of the material world can no longer provide any new wisdom to this new cosmic creation consciousness universe. There are limits to how high the consciousness of human life forms can expand. For instance, there is a point wherein information gathered by our material senses is not of high enough consciousness to continue the evolution for cosmic creation consciousness. The human form then transforms into a higher form of consciousness, which no longer requires the death cycle or the material body. Our new cosmic creation consciousness universe, which started as nothing more than an idea, has expanded in size and created a material realm from which to gain experience. It has had a mature adult life through the experience of learning from a material universe, and eventually it must rest. For the length of time that a creation can sustain itself is related to the strength of its spiritual knowledge. Just as it must learn everything in small steps, it can only learn so much at a time. Learning turns into wisdom through experience. Crispy chiming in again here. As a planet develops its human life forms enough, those life forms will then join with other life forms. I'm going to add things like the reptilians and the insectoids. Any physicalization in material form of a creature that can walk around, think and talk, and create material devices with which to travel between other planets can be lumped under the umbrella of human. So just file that. In the process of evolution, as these life forms on various planets meet and connect and evolve, they will learn that they are all aspects of each other. And through that evolution, they will continue to evolve and eventually leave their physical bodies behind, forming what can be thought of as collective consciousnesses. For example, the Melchizedek collective consciousness is above and beyond all physical means. They may have been a group of millions or even billions of physical bodies, humans as it were, possibly on many different planets, and then they have joined together as one collective consciousness. This process continues in every existing physical universe until all of the consciousnesses join together in one that they all initially were. That is when that one universe will come to completion and then go into a time of rest. This is what was communicated to us through the first Pleiadian channelings of Barbara Marciniak, saying that we are here. We are the Pleiadians, a collective of energy from the Pleiades. We have a long history. Our ancestors come from another universe that had achieved completion, a universe. You are simply working on a planet coming to completion, and we are here to help you with that task. And now back to Randy. The laws of creation. Since the logic of cosmic creation consciousness is absolute and does not change, we can say that it is a law. Any universe, which is to say any new cosmic creation consciousness, always follows the path or the templates or the blueprints of the absolutum. It always has an awake period and a sleep period, and it evolves from a simple idea into a higher form of consciousness through the experiences learned through 7 stages of development. Those 7 stages are described in Jean Andrade's book, Star Wisdom. Creation dictates the laws of physics, the laws of math, and all other sciences. Humans merely discover the knowledge that is already there. This is a process that happens naturally on every life-supporting planet. If we can learn to understand cosmic creation consciousness and the process of evolution it is going through, then we will have discovered for ourselves how to create laws for our society by which we can live. Everywhere in nature, the laws of creation are actually very obvious if we would only open our eyes to see. In humanity's early development on most planets, they may praise the sun and or worship their moons if they have them, in the hopes that their lives will become better. That is the level of their understanding at that time, and they will make simple laws for their societies accordingly. As we progress and grow in experience, which leads to intelligence and higher consciousness, we will make different laws that reflect our newer understandings of cosmic creation consciousness. These laws will be more in line with the complexity and level of knowledge of our society and all of nature. We are continually evolving and changing as a society. Therefore, we must be open to creating new laws and paradigms that will keep pushing us forward instead of holding us back. There is an interconnection that binds us all together, something like a network of consciousness that I refer to as spiritual bonding. As we think, our thoughts run across the network and affect all other life forms that are connected to it. Thought is energy, and energy contains thought. They are the same thing existing in different form. Spiritual growth is the forming of logical thinking that is in harmony with the laws of cosmic creation consciousness. When you have perceived something correctly, with great clarity of thought, and understood it to the point that it has become part of your life, dictating your actions, the wisdom learned from the experience contributes to your spiritual growth. In order to control your spiritual growth, you must take 100% accountability for your own actions, thoughts, and deeds. You cannot dump your responsibilities on any other life form, or God, or idol, or cult, and expect to grow personally, spiritually. No other life form, including gods or ETs, can do your spiritual growth for you. When you have learned to face your problems with your own energies, given to you through cosmic creation consciousness, and when you accept and understand that you are part of cosmic creation consciousness, then you may draw on the spiritual force that is already within you and achieve all that you can imagine. The equality of man. It has been said that all men are created equal, and we are. We all start as souls or spirit forms of equal knowledge, or should I say lack of knowledge. For in our beginning state of pure energy, what we know is almost nothing. It is cosmic creation consciousness that gets us started on our path of physical growth. Once we come into our first lifetime, the learning process starts. We begin to accumulate wisdom from our experiences, and we create a path of learning that will continue for billions of years as each soul goes through the stages of evolution of human life. All along this path, we are learning different things at different times. It is the accumulated wisdom that contributes to our intellect and our aptitudes, causing us all to be unique individuals on our own path of learning. We all learn different things from different experiences at different times because we're all on our own individual paths of learning. As we go through lifetimes, we slowly learn all of the lessons of life, but not at the same time. Eventually, all of the lessons are learned by everyone. So never can we say that one person is better than another. We're just at different levels of learning. It is the wise person who recognizes that they are only older, not better, or only younger, not inferior. And wise souls may use their older, more evolved selves to help their younger, less evolved selves through meditation. In this 3D plane on Earth, there are obviously many people who use their accumulated wisdom to take advantage of a younger spirit form or get ahead at another's expense. These people are living in spiritual ego and stagnation and still have some very hard lessons to learn because karma. Peace will come to Earth when everyone realizes that we are all souls of cosmic creation consciousness on our own paths of development. And we make space for other souls and spirit forms so that they can be just who they need to be in that lifetime and learn what they need to learn for themselves without any judgment or harassment from us. It is a sign of an advanced soul on the path to ascension that recognizes the soul in all others and sees them not as a material being, but as a spirit form on their own path of discovery and learning. This process of spiritual growth is a natural one that goes on whether we are aware of it or not, but we can certainly enhance it by tuning in to our spiritual development and making it a priority in our lives. The advantage of understanding this process is that we can be in control of our rate of growth, the quality of information we expose ourselves to, and we can develop methods by which we can live a happier life and be in control of our hearts and minds. We can also learn to understand the purpose of our lives and better understand the path of evolution that we, as each individual, are on. We only need to look around us at the millions or billions of unhappy, depressed, angry, or out-of-control people, and we can see the immediate need for a better understanding of how spirit works with this 3D world. The food our spirit lives on is truth, according to the Pleiadians as taught to them by cosmic creation consciousness, the absolutum. Therefore, healing a person who is experiencing some form of mental illness means healing through the powers of the soul or spirit. Individuals must activate their own spirit to heal themselves. Nobody can heal another person. This means the power or energy of the soul or spirit of the person requiring healing must be motivated to heal itself. If a person is spiritually or psychologically weak and suffering, and you are strong in spirit and healthy in mind, you can try letting them use your strength to get motivated. This can be done by the laying on of hands around the body in the region of the stricken person's aura. The aura, or biofield, is the field of energy around each person's body that reflects the condition of their spiritual energy. As you think, your thoughts create energy that shows in the aura around your body. If a person is psychologically, emotionally, physically, or spiritually ill, it will show in their aura. If you are strong, you can let your aura mix with theirs. Some call it Reiki. Hold your hands around them in their auric field for several minutes or much longer, and they will benefit greatly from it. The power of your healthy spirit can help theirs get started and motivated to continue healing themselves on their own. Sometimes just the feeling of your healthy energy is enough to make them feel better about themselves and pull themselves out of a depression or despair state that they're in. However, you must be cautious not to absorb negative energies from them. This can happen if you're doing this type of healing because of your ego or vanity, rather than love and genuine concern for a fellow human. If you try to help someone in order to show off or prove that you are very spiritual, you will do them no good and only hurt yourself. If, on the other hand, you are giving from your heart and think with a clear and logical mind, you can be of great help to anyone who is suffering. When you are acting with your ego, you are spiritually weak and cannot protect yourself adequately. However, a spiritually balanced person is strong and could possibly suffer no ill effects. However, they may benefit from spiritually cleansing themselves after giving a healing. Our connection to cosmic creation consciousness. When our soul or spirit form was created, our connection to the cosmic creation consciousness was permanently created. While our soul or spirit is listening to our thoughts and accepting wisdom into the subconscious, it always has the ability to check out our ideas with cosmic creation consciousness. It is like an open line of communication that is always there, and it can only be felt through the spirit or the soul. You could call it your higher self. Our spiritual self will not accept any wisdom to be added to our accumulated consciousness unless it first checks with cosmic creation consciousness to be sure it is in line with the truth and with the evolution of our soul. It is cosmic creation consciousness that lays down the laws of evolution and creates the framework for all of humanity on all planets, in all solar systems, in all universes, to evolve by. If humanity could learn to think with their conscious mind, using these laws of conduct provided by cosmic creation consciousness, not only would our lives be so much easier, but our evolution as a soul would progress much faster. In religions and different belief structures, there is always a faith factor, for it is not possible to prove that God really exists. It is something that you take on faith because our parents or the priest at church told us we had to. If you want to prove to yourself that cosmic creation consciousness exists, and that it is the ultimate source of love and understanding which can provide all knowledge that is necessary for life, then you have only to make your connection with the great cosmic creation consciousness inside yourself. Here you can feel and experience the ultimate feeling of the life force that guides all things, and is available to you at any time you choose, without going through any ceremonies or spiritual leaders or guides or forms of worship. You are always connected to cosmic creation consciousness because you are a holy hologram, a divine spark, a sacred fractal of cosmic creation consciousness. The Akashic Records. Earlier I mentioned that thoughts are energy. As your mind builds a thought through the millions of flashes between your brain cells, the subconscious, and your psyche. A thought becomes a charge of energy. The vibrations of each individual thought are dependent on the level of evolution of the soul that makes it, and the emotions and feelings that surround it. We are normally used to thinking that our thoughts are safely tucked away inside our heads where no one else will ever know about them. This is true to a certain extent, for those around us will usually have no idea of our thoughts. However, our thoughts do not dissipate or disappear inside our head or somewhere else. Once the thought is created and becomes energy, it has the ability to leave our mind and move out into space. As it does this, it rises up just slightly above the planet and becomes part of the etheric band of energy that circles our planet, called the Akashic Records, or the Lak'esh. This energy band is called records, for it contains thoughts from every human being who has ever lived on Earth throughout all time. They are stored in a very logical way based on the vibrations of evolution of each individual thought. The Akashic Records are the accumulation of knowledge of the past. Here, the thoughts of everyone are arranged in layers of memory. Each layer or level of memory is at a different level of evolution. Remember that thoughts are energy, and the energy is separated by the level of oscillating vibrations. There is our Akashic record around our planet, and there is an Akashic records around our solar system, and one around the Milky Way galaxy. There are probably others around every aspect of creation. These are only the ones the Pleiadians have mentioned, but it seems to me, crispy, that there are Akashic records ascending in size and completion around everything, and eventually the biggest one is the Absolutum. Back to Randy. The knowledge of the past is protected, so getting into it is not easy. One must earn that right by virtue of their understanding of how the spirit works. It is only accessible through the subconscious of the spirit or soul. Once you have learned how to activate your subconscious through meditation, you will also discover that you will need to learn the key to get in. The key is a special symbol understood by the spirit or soul that can unlock a particular memory level in the records. This key can only be discovered through meditation, since it is part of the symbol language of spirit. Once you have earned a key that can open a particular record, you can then gain access to those thoughts. Opening a record allows you to access the thoughts of that person which are stored there. This is how you can learn about another person's thinking. The information you will have access to cannot be of higher evolution than your own. So even if you were to try and access the information created by some great thinker like Leonardo da Vinci, for example, you would only be able to access his thoughts that were not of any greater evolution than your own. This is because your mind creates energy that oscillates at a certain frequency determined by your evolution. The higher the evolution, the higher the frequency. Frequencies created by your mind cannot unlock records that require a higher frequency. This is cosmic creation consciousness's way of protecting knowledge and information until you are ready for it. Even if you could somehow get information of a much higher evolution sent to you or pull it out of the Lak'esh, you would have a problem with reception. Depending on how high the frequency of the information was, you either couldn't receive it at all, or it would make you crazy or enraged or emotionally break you down. You could even get physically hurt from being overloaded by frequencies that are too high for your mind to handle. It's kind of like a radio that's only capable of handling incoming frequencies up to a certain level. Anything above that level is missed altogether, or perhaps very garbled. Crispy chiming in here, this would seem to run counter to the information we have about the sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce. Back to Randy. Once you have been able to access thoughts from, let's say, Da Vinci, your soul acts as a receiver and begins to think like Da Vinci while you are connected to his records. Since this is a spiritual connection, not a material one, the information cannot be spoken but can be written down, as in auto-writing or auto-painting. It is not uncommon for some people to have a connection to the Lak'esh and be able to receive information without even knowing where it's coming from. If you speak to these people, they will tell you that they use meditation and a key or symbol of some kind to start the transmission. Although ones who are unaware that they are receiving it will just say it was their own drawings. The Lak'esh can be accessed through meditation. It is not the spirit world, but the records of past thoughts. The spirit forms, the souls who created the thoughts that are in the Lak'esh, are now living new lives as different humans. When you are in the Lak'esh, you are not in connection with Da Vinci, just his thoughts that were recorded when he was alive in that body. The spirit that lived the lifetime as Da Vinci has now moved on and has created another life with another personality, maybe many since then, and is no longer what we know as Leonardo da Vinci. It is only his thoughts that are left behind, and some pretty damn good art. Heaven, the other side. The Lak'esh should not be confused with the other side, the sleeping place of souls. This is an entirely different area that can only be accessed by souls and requires a very different technique. The Pleiadians do not interfere with souls on the other side and feel it is better to leave sleeping spirits alone. For one thing, these spirits do not know any more than they did when they were alive, and they usually don't want to be bothered anyway. Psychics that claim to be in touch with dead or sleeping spirits are usually in touch with their Lak'esh, and most of them don't even know it. The minds of Earth humans were scanned by the Pleiadians, and they discovered that only 16 people on Earth had the evolution and the understanding to actually get in touch with passed over souls on the other side. Many people receive images, feelings, or thoughts from spirits, but cannot initiate it themselves. They are only receiving. To the Pleiadians, at their level of morality, they feel it best to leave souls alone on the other side. Telepathy. The Pleiadians use a form of telepathy to send information to thousands of people on Earth all the time. They have been very open about the fact that they are trying to help with our education by sending us ideas and visions that we can use. They are hopeful that by doing this, these ideas will stimulate people to use their higher selves and educate others who will make a difference in our world. This means that we may pick up ideas and thoughts and images while we are dreaming and even daydreaming and merely believe they are our own. The Pleiadians feel it is morally wrong for them to invade our thoughts and impinge on our free will. If they do not allow us to know the origin of our thoughts, then we will think they are our own ideas. Hundreds of small telemeter crafts of various sizes listen to our thinking and broadcast thoughts for us to pick up. In 1975, at the end of their contact with Billy, they admitted that they currently had over 17,000 humans receiving their various transmissions. They have not told us who these people are or how they select them. Other travelers from other worlds could also be sending us information as well. In many cases, the receiving party may have become aware of the source of these transmissions, for the senders may wish to identify themselves. We should also be cautious, though, as many people create these connections in their fantasies and are in touch with nothing but their egos. In other cases, the entities that they are in touch with are lower astral beings who fill their heads with fantasies and lies. It can be very exciting to be in touch with a non-physical entity, but be aware that not all of them are friendly and have your best interests at heart. Imagine the psychic pain you could put yourself through if you allowed yourself to be used by another life form for their use against humanity. An invasion from outer space may not come in ships, but in the minds of our people. Not only do we receive information from the Pleiadians and other ETs and other non-physical beings, but we receive information from other humans. We pick up feelings and impressions all the time. For instance, if you are around someone who is thinking very negative or harmful thoughts about you, depending on your sensitivity and state of mind, you might react to this in fear or caution or apprehension or even anger. You would probably want to get away from this person as soon as possible or engage them in battle. We are constantly receiving feelings and impressions from the people around us. Our subconscious is busy defending itself from outside thoughts all the time without our awareness. There are over 8 billion people on the planet who are thinking all sorts of thoughts that create energy, and we have to deal with it. This energy also affects animals and nature. We have been told by the Pleiadians that in some cases, storms and even earthquakes can be started just by the extra negative energy from a localized mass consciousness of Earth people, which disturbs nature. Our spiritual side can also be used to make connections with other life forms. If a Pleiadian wanted to send you a thought from their home planet of Ira, this is how they would do it. The thought would come to you on the spiritual side, since telepathy on the physical side is only for short distances on your planet. The problem that you would have is the information comes in symbolic form, not words, and you wouldn't understand it. It may take years of practice in meditation to learn and understand the many different symbols that are necessary to translate incoming transmissions. For an example of an extraterrestrial or non-physical being transmission, it is possible to implant the thought into your mind that you have been taken aboard a ship and interacted with extraterrestrials about some special mission or other that they want you to perform. It is not necessary for this experience to ever have physically happened. The entire experience could be put into your memory, and you would wake up believing it really happened. You would argue with anyone that it is real, and even pass a lie detector test, for you would have no way of doubting it yourself. To you, it's an actual memory, as clear as any other memory you have. This happens in many cases where ETs want someone on Earth to do something for them. Our minds can be controlled by higher intelligences, and we have nothing we can really do about it because we are undeveloped as thinkers. It's very hard to block information which comes in, especially if you don't know that it's even possible. If you knew it was possible and you knew someone was trying to implant you with memories and you wanted to block it, you could. But you would have to be a powerful, clear thinker with good meditation experience and control of your own thoughts. However, those are not the type of people who are chosen for memory implants. Channeling. Occasionally, someone tells us that they are in touch with beings from the spirit world or other planets, and that these beings are going to speak to us through them. This process is called channeling. It is typical for the person performing the channeling to speak to us in a different voice, as if it were the personality of the incoming being. The Pleiadians do not ever communicate in this manner, because they know it is too inaccurate. They have been quite clear that in no case do they allow the person receiving information to know where it comes from. Because there are so many different ways that we can receive information from outside sources, it is easy to see how anyone could be confused about the origin. We receive information through psychic connection to one another and transmissions from intelligences such as the Pleiadians or entities from other dimensions or entities from other planets. And also the Pleiadians send subconscious messages when we dream or even daydream. Then if we add the fact that our own conscious mind makes up its own thoughts from everything we see and hear around us, it's easy to know how the origin of information can be very hard to pin down. I think that people who channel are receiving information, they are just not aware of where it is really coming from. Channeling can be termed euphoric meditation. In other words, you are practicing meditation incorrectly and are producing the effect of the second personality from your ego. This can be very dangerous, especially if the individual continues this and lets his ego get out of hand. It can lead to schizophrenia, a condition of psychic illness that is very difficult to recover from, causing the individual to no longer be able to distinguish reality from falsehood. If you want to access information from other sources, learn to meditate correctly. No alter ego voice or personality is required to receive telepathy or visions through your soul or higher self or spirit. It is only necessary to learn to enter a meditative concentration deep enough to use your own spiritual energy. I have heard many channelers and found no information that could not be expressed using a simple meditative technique. I believe when the information comes in through the foreign voice, it is only being manufactured by the individual himself or herself. People who show good psychic abilities are often in touch with other people or life forms, for they are sensitive to certain frequencies whose reception of thought energy is possible. Good psychics take advantage of meditative abilities, but never use a channeled voice to communicate. They are in an awakened state of concentration and use their spiritual force to make connections. Now, Crispy got to chime in here. As I think you know about me, I am a great believer in the messages that have come through Barbara Marciniak, in particular, more than any other channeler, especially channeler of Pleiadian information. I do believe her first two books, Bringers of the Dawn, published in 1992, 2 years before this book was published, and Earth, Pleiadian Keys to the Living Library, published in 94, the same year this book was published. I believe that those two books are pure. I believe they are direct Pleiadian communications. You will notice quite a bit of overlap in them. I believe they all came from essentially the same source of channeling, possibly the same time, which, Barbara says, began on May 18th, 1988, which was called Stabilizing Gaia on the Mayan calendar. And I believe most of the channeling that went into both of those books happened at the same time in the first couple of years, from maybe 88 to 92. And then she published 2 more books, which I feel are less innovative. I don't believe there was any new particular information that came through in the second 2 books. That's after having read them all a couple of times and done numerous videos about them. Perhaps you got the feeling from what Randall was writing here that his opinion of channeling is rather low. And I will admit, in the last decade especially, there has been an enormous amount of channeling, a lot of it Pleiadian, and it's hard to say whether it's true or not, or how much is true. I tend to believe that, as far as dimensions go, Semyase, having a regular physical body like all of us on Earth, is in the 3D. I also feel they have graduated up to 4th density, meaning heart chakra centered living. They have unconditional love for all beings. And they've also mastered 4D, 4th dimension, meaning time. They can travel through time. The 5th dimension lately has been enormously popular to say 5D Earth. Nobody really understands what that is. You can't even understand what that is using your 3D mind until you have transcended 3D and you're in 4th density, green ray, heart chakra. Then you could even comprehend what 5D means, but no one can get to 5D until they are completely in permanent 4D consciousness, 4th density. Understanding that all of creation is one thing. Therefore, to have any judgment whatsoever, whether a person is better than you or worse than you, knocks you directly out of 4D, 4th density, green ray, heart chakra consciousness. It's impossible. And when you're permanently in 4th density, you can then begin to possibly understand what 5th density is about. Almost nobody on Earth can even comprehend what 5th density means. In the 5th dimension, which I believe begins to merge again with 5th density, there's a major difference between 4th dimension and 4th density, but I do believe they begin to merge again. 5th dimension, 5th density beings still have a physical body, but they may not eat, for example, or they may eat once a month, for example. They are losing their physical density, and by the time they graduate out of 5D, they have no body. To be in 6D means complete spirit form, and therefore the beginnings of collective consciousness are in 6D. I believe there is a connection, direct connection between the 3, the 6, and the 9. 9th D are much higher evolved forms of 6D. So, for example, the collective consciousness that we call Melchizedek is in 6D, but the collective consciousness we could call Metatron is in 9D. Now, Metatron, collective consciousness, does not communicate with individual Earth humans, and I do not believe that any entity or collective consciousness of entities in the 9th dimension would communicate with a 3D human, even if they're in 4th density much of the time, like when they meditate, they can get up into 4D. I don't think a 9D collective consciousness would do that. I do believe that a 6D, the Melchizedek, for example, collective consciousness does communicate with humans. Specifically, Paul Selig, I believe, is the best channeler of the Melchizedek consciousness. Melchizedek, if you want to think about it, was taught by Metatron. So the 369 connection works in that way. I think when an entity, a collective consciousness of entities, gets into the 6th dimension, they do not locate themselves to a planet or a star system. So they wouldn't say, we are the 6D Pleiadians, for example. Or maybe they would say that in 6D, but definitely no entity group would be in the 9th density, 9th dimension, and say, we are from a certain planet. It's just not possible. So I do believe, and I could be completely wrong, but I do believe when people say, I am channeling the 9th D Pleiadian collective, that is not true. There is no locality to the 9th dimension. It is possible that a group is giving information and location. It's possible, but I don't feel it's true. Now, if you listen closely to the information that's coming from people who claim to be channeling the 9th dimension Pleiadians, and if you just look at, for example, what Paul Selig says, or what Barbara Marciniak says, or what Amora Kuan Yin says, there is absolutely no quantitative difference. It's basically the same thing Ram Dass says, and it's the same thing Alan Watts says. It's not 9th dimension consciousness. It's just heart-centered consciousness. It's Buddha mind. It's Yeshua mind. That's my humble opinion. Now, back to Randall. Reincarnation. As we come close to the end of our physical lives, there is an inner awareness that knows when death will come. Buried within our subconscious is the knowledge of our individual lifespan. Our soul or our spirit has knowledge of how long our material life is likely to be, and when our cross points are likely to happen. We may have numerous of them. This is due in part to the amount of life force or spiritual energy that a soul has to sustain the material life, and mostly due to what lessons have been learned. Fear of death is a result of not knowing what will happen to us after we die and creating negative fantasies about what we think. It is pure ego. Only the shadow ego can be afraid of death. Most religions and belief systems tell us we're going to heaven or hell, or possibly purgatory, where we will be judged, disciplined, burned, or rewarded, or who knows what, depending on how we have obeyed the religion's laws during our lifetime. Fear of going to hell and burning forever, or not being able to get into heaven if you sin in the eyes of your priest, is a very strong motivator and gives religions control over billions of people. Fortunately, they're completely wrong. for these mythical places are only the inventions of those who want to control you here in the 3D material world. On board a Pleiadian craft, there are instruments which allow a person's spiritual self to be shown on a view screen, which contains information about the time of birth, purpose in life, karmic debts, past life trauma, and expected time of death, among other things. This information can be viewed and studied for a better understanding of your life if you get to go up in a Pleiadian craft. The device also has the ability to read the feelings and thoughts of your conscious and subconscious mind. As an example of how foolish the fear of death is, an older man who was close to death was chosen to be viewed, and his spiritual self was projected on the screen. First, his conscious mind was read, and the thoughts of his fear of death were very strongly displayed. He was dying of a heart disease, and he was in a lot of physical pain. He had lived most of his life as a soldier and had been responsible for the death of hundreds of people. Now he was close to his own death, and he was behaving like a coward, for fear had overcome him. His life had been one of purely material gains, power, greed, and control over others, with ruthless murder under the guise of being a soldier. He had never taken the time to get in touch with his own soul, or in touch with cosmic creation consciousness, and he never felt any degree of love for anyone or from anyone around him. However, flicking the switch on the screen so it now showed his subconscious revealed that there was no fear. His conscious mind, his shadow ego, was completely paralyzed in fear, but his subconscious was very peaceful. This is because the subconscious, which is directly connected to your soul, understands what the afterlife is and knows that death is no great horror, but only a change into the other side for a time of rest and reunion with cosmic creation consciousness. The Pleiadians do not see death as an ending, of course, but only a transition in the endless path of spiritual evolution that is a natural part of life and death, and life and death, and life and death, and life and death. We have the ability to have an effect on our next life in some ways, but only in the way we conclude our current life and thereby prove the lessons we learned. We can make conscious decisions about our choice of gender, for instance. If you have lived a life as a woman and wish to return as a man, this is possible through generating the will to do so in your spiritual self. This happens after the soul has left the body. Subconsciously, the higher self or the soul makes the decision on gender for the next life based on the lessons we're trying to learn or experiences we're trying to have. Once the death process begins, our material senses begin to deteriorate and turn within and eventually stop functioning. Medical death occurs when the heartbeat can no longer be detected, breathing has stopped, and we are pronounced dead. Even though we appear dead and our material body is no longer functioning, the spirit or soul may stay in the body for up to 72 hours before it leaves. In most cases, the soul will separate and leave very quickly, possibly even before the body actually dies. And there are many cases on record where witnesses have seen a wisp of energy or felt something pass by as the spirit leaves the body. The soul, however, does not die and is very busy taking over the conscious awareness of the self as the material senses are shutting down. While this happens, the spiritual consciousness begins to see the light of cosmic creation consciousness, and a feeling of love and comfort are immediately felt. There could be visions of angels or guardian angels or one's deceased relatives waiting for them. Thoughts of the material pain and discomfort fade immediately upon death because the material brain is no longer functioning. All thoughts, emotions, fears, anxieties, hate, guilt, blame, and all other man-made feelings that have been manufactured throughout the material life fade away as the material life is fading away. Having advanced thousands and thousands of years beyond us in spiritual understanding, the Pleiadians have studied the passing over of spirits in great detail. They want us to know that our soul does not leave the planet and on to heaven or hell. It stays right here on earth where it started. Our spirit forms came out of conscious creation consciousness and are evolving with planet Earth, Mother Nature, Goddess Gaia, and they stay with it. Our Akashic records are only on this planet and are connected to us. It is not possible at our level of evolution for us to be born on another world or dimension. We simply do not have the ability. Crispy chiming in here. After listening to hundreds of past life regressions and reading many books of Dolores Cannon's and Dr. Brian Weiss, I have to completely disagree. Our soul is not limited by physicality whatsoever. There is a multiplicity of souls, and there is a multiplicity of dimensional experiences with regards to time. So therefore, Randy here might be talking about one band of evolution of the soul, which may stay on planet Earth for a very long time. However, the soul is not limited and can be having simultaneous lifetimes on other planets, and therefore in other solar systems, and therefore other galaxies. However, because of what we have learned in this book about universes, I will say that there is probably some kind of a block, as it were, to a soul experiencing lives in other universes. I really don't think that's necessary, actually, but I don't know. Now back to Randy. If a person has died unexpectedly from an accident, a murder, or some other trauma, they could be very uncomfortable for a while and may not even reach the other side. In those cases, the spirit, the soul, may not recognize that it's even dead. And it could slip into another human if they have a large gap in their aura due to trauma. Or it could float around as a hungry ghost in the astral planes. If they do slip into a person, it would cause the invaded person to become very confused in spirit and may immediately start showing signs of unusual behavior. Even pronounced personality traits may shift, for the incoming soul doesn't know where it is and is trying to send messages to the material self, its past dead body, and cannot do so. Professional psychologists are discovering that there are many cases of this happening. Methods of hypnosis have been developed which are effective in making an invading soul aware that it is in another body and that it is time for it to let go and pass over to the other side. Doctors dealing with this problem actually counsel the confused soul, letting it know that their physical body has died and that they have taken a temporary home in the host of another person's body by mistake. In most cases, once the incoming soul understands what has happened, it will immediately let go and pass over, relieving the individual of the confusion of spirit and returning them to normal lives. There are thousands of cases of this phenomenon on record, providing a wealth of new knowledge about the spiritual world. Once on the other side, the soul will rest for a period of time that is dependent on two factors. If you have lived a long life and have added a great deal of wisdom to your soul, you may rest a very long time before you come back into a body. If you have lived a short life and have learned very little, boop. If you have lived a short life and or have learned very little, you will come back more quickly. This is cosmic creation consciousness's way of balancing out the evolution of the human souls on a planet. The time on the other side follows the pattern set by cosmic creation consciousness as it evolves through cycles of waking and sleeping. The sleep period on the non-physical side is a time of rest and contemplation. No new experiences are gained. That is only in the material realm. The wisdom learned from the material lifetime is considered or cogitated, and the process of evolution for the spirit continues, but only by reflection on the past life. Once the rest period starts, the spirit is no more aware of the material world than we are of the spiritual world. Communication is possible if you know how, and in some cases thoughts do transfer. But for the most part, the soul has no interest in the material realm. When we are alive and asleep at night, our material senses are not in effect, and we are not aware of the material world. We are dreaming. We are busy finishing our thoughts for the day and traveling through time and space in our dreams. Awareness of the material world returns when we wake up in the morning and begin to use our conscious minds again. Our time on the other side is very much like an extended dream. It does seem clear that there is very likely to be a past life review, possibly including the experiencing of different situations through all other points of view that were involved at the time. The other side, the non-physical side, has different levels of consciousness as well. When we first enter, leaving our body, we are at the level where we finish out the thoughts and feelings of that past lifetime. The majority of time is spent here, and then we will move through 2 more levels of consciousness before we are ready to return to a physical body. The average time on the other side is 152 years on Earth. This is an average taking into consideration all of the lifetimes that have ever happened on planet Earth. As mentioned, the time greatly varies depending on the length of the previous material life and its spiritual attainments. In this time of the new age of the last 50 years, the turnaround time has sped up on the one hand due to the increase in vibrations of energy affecting the planet, and also because of the number of humans wanting to reincarnate at this time. It's possible that some spirits return in as quickly as 15 years, and Crispy says maybe up to 6 weeks. Once our spirit has passed through the 3 levels of consciousness on the other side, it signals cosmic creation consciousness that it is ready to return to the material realm. This signal is somehow connected to the spiritual life force of the soul, which is now rested and recovered, and to the clarity of thought that has resulted from finishing out its thinking from the previous life. It has also set new goals for the new lifetime. The creation has a hand in actually moving the spirit into a material body once it is ready. It is the physical mother in the material realm that provides the window of opportunity for this to happen through her womb. There is a tendency of a soul to often stay within its own genetic family, if possible. So if the timing is right and a female member of the family is pregnant and the soul is ready, creation nudges the spirit towards that DNA line again. Considering the average turnaround time is 152 years, this means that your children may have been your great-great-great-grandmother or grandfather, about 6 or 7 generations back. Here in the New Age, however, where spirits are coming back much sooner, there's the chance of your child being your grandparent. If all spirits lived a long and full life, learning many spiritual lessons, the family chain would almost follow a normal order of things. Unfortunately, due to wars and other reasons, spirits live a shorter life. The normal chain of births gets interrupted frequently on Earth, and people are born into the family out of their normal birth sequence. In my case, for instance, I was informed that the Pleiadians felt that I was late in my birth and missed my normal place. I should have been the child of my grandmother. This means that my mother normally would have been my sister if events had gone right. This interruption of the normal cycle can cause problems in one's spiritual evolution. The spirit, the soul, will move into the material body within 21 days of conception. On Pleiadian planets, they have the ability to know precisely when the spirit has made its decision, and up until that point, they would consider having an abortion, but never after that. Once we reach this level of knowledge here on Earth, we will see a drastic change in morality and a different view on abortion. The first choice of cosmic creation consciousness is that the soul comes into a window of opportunity that is as close as possible to the same level of evolution as the spirit left its last lifetime. For this and other reasons of stability, the family chain, the DNA lineage, is the usual first consideration. If the spirit is moved out of its family, as many millions of us are on Earth at this time, it causes possibly more difficulty during early childhood. The positive side is that this can provide for many new things to be learned. Basically, being born within the same DNA lineage almost guarantees a likelihood of comfort and familiarity when an infant is born. It also may include instant dislike. However, when a soul chooses a family that it is not incarnated into before, or certainly within the last 10 generations, there can still be love and still be dislike. It's not possible to say which degree of either of those conditions may be in place. But again, a soul wishing to experience something completely new would reincarnate into a family line that it has no experience with. Once the soul is in the fetus, it's a very exciting time for both her and the person coming in. To begin with, mothers on Earth should be aware that in that first 21 days after sperm and egg come together, the soul will anchor itself into the fetus. Developing your spiritual energy through meditation will help you make the contact and discover that a person is coming back into life. It may be a person your soul remembers, and it may not. You could study your family tree and see who passed away 100 years ago or so. If you can find pictures of your older relatives, you could meditate on their images and you might make some connections that way. Imagine how wonderful it would be to discover who the spirit was in a previous life and how they had lived. Some mothers can even form a connection and carry on communication. If you knew what kind of life they lived and how they died, you could create a special bond with them before they were born. Communication can begin with the new soul letting you know what to name them, for example, or what things they want to work on. Names reflect the level of evolution and the path of learning we are on. Names have meaning in spiritual language and will present themselves to the mother if she is open to it. By realizing that infants are eternal souls creating a new life for themselves, we should no longer think of them as our baby or possessions that we created, but as people coming into a 3D life through us. Life is a cooperative effort by the mother, the father, and the incoming person. The father provides half the DNA, and the mother the other half, and the soul provides everything else. It is the soul that also brings in the past life memories or messages or goals for the spiritual evolution in each lifetime. The spiritual self knows how much accumulated knowledge it will bring into the new body and how much brain connectors it will need to handle the intelligence and aptitudes that are necessary. If you have learned lessons in a particular area in previous lives, the wisdom from those experiences are carried forward into your new life, so you can benefit from them. This is the determining factor in why we all have different intelligence and aptitude. Millions of years ago, we all were quite equally ignorant, that is. But as our evolution continues, we all learn different things at different times. So our accumulated wisdom is diversified. So you see, none of us are any better than anyone else, just younger or older. It's like going through school and being in different grades. We all go through the same classes, and eventually we all graduate. But judging each other or leveling each other or trying to sound inferior or superior is just the shadow ego illusions. The accumulated knowledge of our previous lives is stored within our spiritual subconscious soul and is always available to us if we need it. We also benefit from our past lives in another way. Once the brain is formed and the connectors are all functional, the soul makes a copy of its wisdom and puts it into the amino acids and chemicals of our brain for the material body to access and use. And of course, we are also always connected to cosmic creation consciousness. The material, for the most part, is a product of DNA of our mother and father, the family genetics. The spirit, though, the soul, is often reflected across the face and specifically the eyes. This fascinated me when I first heard about it, and I thought how unfortunate it was that photography's only been around for about 175 years. Otherwise, we could have all the pictures of our relatives from thousands of years ago, and we could see this phenomenon ourselves. Because of my interest in this, one of the ladies at the center showed me a picture of a Russian woman who lived about 160 years ago and asked me to look at it carefully. I studied the picture and then glanced back at her. It was her, even though the hair was different and the face was a little different. You could see the eyes, nose, and ears across the center of the face was exactly the same. She had been guided by the Pleiadians to understand this and had found this picture of herself in a previous life. The moment of birth is very important on a Pleiadian world, as it is for some people on Earth as well. At the moment that the soft spot on our skull bursts forth from the mother and is touched by the air. It is affected by the energies of the surrounding world. Because of this, Pleiadian mothers do their best to let the new person be born only when they are ready. The feeling is that the person coming in is on a path of discovery and learning, and they will pick the right moment they want to be born in order to line up with the energies that will help them. It's quite possible this is all taken into consideration by cosmic creation consciousness when the move is made in the womb. Crispy chiming in again, I would like to say that the Divine Mayan Tzolk'in calendar is 260 days long, which is almost exactly 9 months, which is the approximate length of duration of a pregnancy. The Maya used the Mayan Tzolk'in calendar to plan their births. They knew there was a very likely chance that the day they became pregnant on the Mayan calendar would be the same day the baby would be born. As far as the zodiac goes, the tropical date system using 12 zodiac signs anchors a person into the same 3D reality that we've been experiencing for 2,500 years. The true sky sidereal using the 13th sign, Ophiuchus, includes the collective wisdom of the goddess religions that have been in place for 6,000 years. However, it still includes an incredibly large amount of toxic masculinity woven into the other 12 signs. The Greek myths and Roman myths include countless examples of angry male gods having sex with women and killing other humans. It's really just a mess that I highly recommend you extricate yourself from if you wish to have spiritual evolution. And I suggest following the Divine Mayan Tzolk'in calendar. Now back to Randy. Now that we are born and have returned to the material world, we have a new material consciousness with which to experience life, called a body. Our subconscious is empty except for the memories of growth in the womb and birth, which may have started the traumatic healing process already, or we may have been bathed in love from our earliest moments. Our psyche is usually healthy and clean with no emotions of hate, anger, fear, prejudice, or anxiety. We have been at one with cosmic creation consciousness in the womb and have just left a wonderful restful period of our time between lives. All we have to do now is learn how to think logically and correctly so we can live our fullest potential through a long and happy life filled with love. Good luck, little baby, old soul. You chose your parents perfectly well, and this world is filled with so many opportunities for the evolution of your soul. We're so glad you're back.